On today's episode of The Real, I'm going to discuss emotions, how to stay emotionally healthy, how to stay emotionally balanced, and what are some ways that can help you do that, some things that have helped me, and what are some things that often make us emotionally unhealthy and unbalanced. All that and more next. Welcome back to The Real with Joseph Labman. I am Joseph Labman. Hope you guys are having a great week. Yeah, if you're new here, please subscribe for me. I'd really appreciate that. Everybody hit the subscribe button. That's the best way you can support my channel and help it to grow. Hit the like button for me as well. Everybody hit the like button for me and leave a comment below up to today's video. I'd really appreciate your guys' feedback. And very important episode today. On the back half of today's show, I'm going to get into some little Cavs real quick. So I'm looking forward to that. Little Cavs talk, kind of state of the Cavs right now. I haven't talked about them about a month. I got a little film breakdown too, a little Marcus Morris action. So that'd be interesting and why I think maybe he could be important for them down the stretch. But most importantly today, my main topic on the show and why I'm here today is mental health related, but also just more of emotional health, emotions. I think a lot of times with we think of anxiety, we think of a panic disorder, we think of if you're going through hypochondria or you're fearful, any type of fear or depression, whatever you're going through, right? A lot of times we feel the emotions of that. Our emotions are what can really sometimes dictate what we do. I know for me, for a long time, my emotions either I was down, I was really down. If I was up, I was really up. I was very up and down, especially my bad anxiety days. And so, um, the first point I'd make to remember this is your emotions do not have intellect. Remember that your emotions do not have intellect. Your emotions just go off of thoughts a lot of times. We're thinking something. And a lot of times, let's say, for instance, like for me, my hypochondria days, for instance, I would get a feeling of something. Let's say I had like this ache in my body or something, or I would feel a certain whatever, and I would get a thought about, hey, remember so and so said one time they had this they thought they felt the same thing, and then this happened to them, and some catastrophic thing happened to them, some ailment or whatever, and then I would start running the movie in my head, mental movies. A lot of times, where it starts, we start running the mental movies in our head that we start picturing ourselves going through that same ailment or whatever it is, or we're not going to be good enough, or people are going to make fun of us. Let's say take hypochondria out of it. Let's say people out there nowadays that maybe don't feel good enough about themselves, maybe the way they look, or financially, or status wise, or and they just feel like they're not good enough. They don't feel like they're good enough husband or wife, or for friend or family member or whatever, and good on the job or what what I mean. They just don't feel like people just don't feel good enough, right? Sometimes we get down on ourselves. And so now we start to run mental movies in our head of what could happen. All right. We start catastrophizing. We start um, just making things a lot worse, in terms of just our minds and the images that we're focusing on in our heads. And I think a lot of times we start running those mental movies, we start feeling the emotions of that, right? If you're already feeling kind of down and you start thinking those negative thoughts, or you start dwelling on those things and you start running those movies in your head and you start to believe it, your emotions start to get out of whack and you start to feel even more down and more sad. Now you're down in a deep hole that can be harder for you to get out. And so, you know, emotional health is very important because I know, like for me, oftentimes in my anxiety disorder, and I know some of you guys out there listening a lot of you could probably relate to this. It's not that really I was ever really a hypochondriac at like towards the latter years. I was a hypochondriac for a little period, but it wasn't really about my hypochondria as much. It was more the deep rooted issues, more the deep rooted thing causes inside of me that were causing that the anxiety from my emotions, the way I felt about things, the way I would process things. That would in turn eventually make me fearful about my health because I would start getting anxious and I would start to feel those symptoms. And now I think now I'm really stressed out and going towards a panic attack. And so, it's like this balloon. You just put way too much air in it, and eventually it's just gonna pop, it's gonna burst. That's what it felt like. And so it was just too much pressure. Um, for me, I would say knowing that once I realized that it's really more the deep rooted issues, and that I started to open up more about what were the things I was really dwelling on from the past, things I was let down about, certain traumatic events in my life that happened to me. Especially a lot of that stuff happened to me at 15 years old when I was in high school and I moved on. And for years, I had to sit and kind of dwell on that and just all the movies I was running in my head and just the things I was upset about, the things I was down about, how I felt people made me feel, the way I felt people made me feel, how I felt let down, how I felt just anger, just a lot of things I was going through, and a lot of things I thought were done to me, and a lot of things I thought I didn't have control of too. I don't mean just control my body. I mean control of the situation itself, control of, then you start worrying about controlling how, you know, you are in certain situations or how people may perceive you. You start worrying about that. And, for me, it's because I was in an environment that was somewhat unhealthy. I was in an unhealthy dynamic and circumstance at that point in my life. I wasn't really in a good spot to succeed. As a 15-year-old going to a new school after I went to the same school for 9 years. And, I just didn't know how to process all that. But that could be any point in life. Sometimes change can make us feel a certain type of way. And so, but again, I had to go back and look at the environment I was in and really assess that, and wonder why I felt the way I felt, and connect the dots, and start to reframe those things. And then it started to make more sense. I started to get more clarity and peace in my life. But for you, and saying all that today, it could be, what are some things nowadays that I think make us feel emotionally unhealthy? And so the first point I want to get to today is, what is one thing I think that makes people very emotionally unhealthy today and unbalanced? And that's social media. And that's an obvious one. Um, and we all use social media, most of us nowadays. I have to use social media a lot more because of what I do now. Obviously, it promotes my content. It's part of what I do. It's part of my job. But and it's, there's a lot of benefits to social media. It's great to stay connected with people, to reconnect with people, keep up with news. You can, there's a lot of. I get the concept of it in layman's term, or you know, looking at it raw is, yeah, it could be very helpful. The reason why people think it was made, it could be a lot of good, but it's done more harm to us than it has good. I think we don't agree with that. And I think the one way social media really makes people emotionally unhealthy nowadays is when you're on social media nowadays and you're scrolling, especially on the app like TikTok in particular, when there's so much sound, so much visual, so much information that you're processing. A lot of the informations and sounds and visuals that you see nowadays on those apps, it's all just stuff that really plays with your emotions. For example, if you're somebody who, um, was rejected, let's say you were rejected or fired, or you felt let down. There's a lot of things you'll see on there, certain music and sounds. You'll hear all these stories of people all day that sit on TikTok or on Instagram. There's so much just information that just kind of like makes you feel worse about it, if that makes sense. I think some of you guys probably know what I'm talking about. Like, just there's so many people on there nowadays that are putting themselves out there, which is somewhat good, but a lot of it's unhealthy because it's not very. Um, I, a lot of it, like I said, the what best way to put it is, a lot of the stuff out there nowadays really just makes it's just doesn't really solve problems. It's just people trying to cope with each other's problems. There's no real direct, like, healing. There's no direction to go somewhere upward. Yeah, everything's just kinda makes you feel stuck. And a lot of the music nowadays, which is my number 2 point, which goes to number 1, a lot of the music you see nowadays, especially on TikTok, some of those songs and those apps, and just some of the things you see on there, like, people will post things like, you know, uh, "Man, being this and that stinks," or one day Imma get to my dreams and goals, and one day it's like this constant never-ending cycle is what I'm getting at, of just achievements, and just social media tries to display now how life should be lived, and, what kinda how much money you should make, and when you should be married by, how many kids you should have, and, everybody has to have this, like, Disney-like love story and this, these crazy expectations we put on ourselves. That's what it does. It makes us feel pressured. Social media nowadays makes people feel pressured. It makes people feel like they have to keep up with the Joneses, or they have to keep up with X, Y, and Z, or they're gonna be behind. It makes us feel like we're behind. It makes us feel all this stress and emotions. Again, that's the key word today, emotions. And so I think social media is a big part of it, but also, like I said, with music, the music you listen to, a lot of the music nowadays, it's not very good. It taps into your emotions in a negative way. If you're somebody that's going through a rejection, or if you're somebody that's got fired, or if you're somebody that's angry about something from your past, if you're angry, if you're sad, if you're uh, whatever, right? Whatever you're going through, whatever emotion. There's so much music. A lot of this music out there nowadays taps into that emotion, but negatively, and it just adds more fuel to what's already there. Adds more fuel to the fire. If you're angry, there's music out there nowadays. When you listen to the lyrics, it just sounds like, if you ask me, it sounds like going up the gates of hell. That's what it would sound like, being fully honest. And so, if you're really down and depressed, there's a lot of this music out there nowadays. Just the lyrics, what they say, it just makes you feel so depressed. I see some people in my age group. I'm 24 years old, and I see a lot of people from the ages of like from high school, college, and fresh out of college. Just a lot of these kids now, a lot of these people nowadays, man, they just get so like caught up in their emotions and caught up in their feelings. And a lot it's because the music they listen to, and they sit there and they say they want to be better and how they feel horrible, and then, it's just been tough. But you listen to the music and the lyrics in these songs, you're just kind of like, well, and they listen to it and they sing it like it's normal, like it's good. And there's actually some therapists out there that will tell people that's good. I don't think it's good. I don't think it's good to stay stuck in the past. To keep have things help you to stay stuck in a negative, stay stuck in the past, stay stuck in that. It makes you stuck, like you're stuck in mud. And so I think social media, music, and I think the third thing I would go to nowadays is we uh we hold things in. We hold things in. We don't really see how to express things nowadays in a healthy manner. Our society does not show us. People in general don't really show how to express things, especially as, well, let's say, for instance, we as men, especially um, men, we feel like we have to hold things together and keep this up strong. Eat nails for breakfast, don't cry. You're not you're not allowed to show emotion. You got to suck it up, and and I think a lot of times nowadays too, there's people out there that you know reach out to other people, like common people, like your family members or your friends. But a lot of times, you have depressed people asking other depressed people for help, or ask anxious people asking other anxious people for help. Hypochondriacs asking other hypochondriacs for help. And where does that get you? Doesn't mean those other people are bad, right? Or you may have somebody out there who is, you know, maybe doesn't deal with it as much, but maybe they don't really have. They just kind of cope with it, and they've coped themselves up to the point now where they just kind of manage and hold it in. So it looks like they're okay. But a lot of times, people like that are people that try to um, hold it in and try to help others, or if that makes sense. My whole point. Let me rephrase this. Let me slow down. So a lot of times, people will ask people for help, for advice. We reach out to people. We hold things in. And a lot of times, the advice we get nowadays, like I said, we're not showing our society how to express things. We're shown how to. People will say, "Well, just suck it up. You just got to move on. You just got to let it go. Everything gets better. Time heals all wounds." And those are all the typical cliche phrases, but it's kind of like afterwards you're like, okay, yeah, thanks, but you don't really feel better, do you? You may feel better for a moment. You may go home that night or whatever. You may feel a little better. You may feel like, yeah, somebody coddled my coddled my emotions and my feelings and made me feel better. But when you wake up tomorrow morning, what happens? You wake up and you're like, oh, there it is again, right? You're right back to whatever's that fear or negative emotion or depression, whatever's bringing you down, right? Those intrusive thoughts, they're right there again, running your life. Because again, when you reach out to people like that aren't really equipped to help you, doesn't mean they're bad. But a lot of times you can get a lot of shitty advice. Just keep it real. Like that stuff I was just giving examples of, the stuff we always hear back. There's a lot of shitty advice out there. And this is what keeps people stuck. And a lot of times, all we're shown going to my 4th point, so 3 and 4 go together. So 3 is we hold things in, right? We don't express things because 'cause we're not shown how to express things, and a lot of times when we try to express things, we express to people who really aren't equipped to help us or don't really know how because our society don't know how. Most of us a lot of people really don't, and in turn, we just start coping, and we just stay stuck in where we are. We get a little better, but we're always here. We never try to elevate beyond that and try to live our lives freely if we can and heal and move past it. Take those chains off of you, right? And speaking, you know, taking those chains off you, that ball and chain off of you that's been holding you down for all these years. And so a lot of times, like I said, so the 4 point, instead of healing, we start to manage our symptoms. And now we start to manage, that's a place where you can really negatively tap into your emotions as well because it makes you very up and down. Because oftentimes when you start to try to manage your way through life or cope, you start becoming a perfectionist. And that's what I became for a period. Like when I was going through my anxiety spell really bad, I was trying to manage and cope, and I would judge each day, good or bad. You know what I mean? Like if I had a panic attack today and I had to come home, it was a bad day. And I would get down on myself and say, "Gee, I'm never gonna get out of this. Such a panicky person, and I'm so inferior and weak." Now I'm starting to see how I'm starting to get down and depressed. I talk myself negatively. The way we talk to ourselves too is very important. Um, Going back to my points earlier today, about mental imagery and movies we write in our head. How we talk to ourselves is very important. Um, but we try to manage it, and then when we try to manage it, we try to become. A lot of times, it can lead to perfectionism, and a lot of times with perfectionism, we're just trying to manage and cope. We can't. We put these high expectations and standards on ourselves, but something, our whatever situation you're in, it's so unrealistic and not obtainable because it's unrealistic. You're right, where we try to, go from point A to point Z without skipping the process in between that's important, the journey where we learn and heal and grow. Then we often turn to just, going to the doctor and just trying to take things and get things to help us just manage each day and just live with it. We just accept it. We accept what we feel in a way where we kinda like just throw in the towel and just give up. And a lot of times that's where a lot of people are nowadays in society, unfortunately. There's a lot of people out there just throwing in the towel and just giving up. Not just with, not just mental health wise with their anxiety or depression or whatever, but just, in life in general. They just can't people because of social media and a lot of other things, our people's patience nowadays is almost negative. It's in the negatives, right? It's 0 negative. Like, people have become very impatient nowadays because we're pressured to think we have to have everything right now. And my 5th point that goes with staying emotionally healthy and balanced would be, or what makes us unhealthy, what what makes us emotionally unhealthy and unbalanced, and my 5th point is we dwell in the past, and that was me, and that's still something I have to work through. All I get it. Some things happened in your past that maybe were done to you. This is what I had to say to myself as well, and it's a good reminder for me as well. But it's your job now. It's up to you now to accept it. What are you gonna do with it? It's time for you to be a man or a woman and stand up and accept what happened. And what are you gonna do about it? How are you gonna help yourself? How are you gonna move forward in your life? How can you take the negative done to you and turn it into a positive to help other people? How can you use it as motivation? How can you use it as an anchor in your life? It's time to move on. It's time to move forward. It's time to let go. It's time to trust and believe that God has something greater out there for you, right? And I get it. I totally get it, guys. This is probably gonna be the hardest part for a lot of people. I get it because I've been going through it, and especially last year going through the program, it was a hard for me to accept a lot of things and move on in the last year in 2023. But I had to do it, and God taught me through it. God grew my faith in it, and but you dwelling on the past, staying stuck in the past, wishing and hoping things that are goals and dreams, you have to let go. You have to give that up. You have to, number one, if what I would do, if you're not somebody who's spiritual, but what I would do is, what is God's plan for my life? What does God want me to do? You know, what's God's will for my life? And is what I do align with that? Who do I want to be as a person? Who do I want to become? what goals I really want to achieve in my life. That person or people that hurt me in the past or let me down or whatever, or rejected me or whatever, you know, oftentimes we hold people to higher standards than ourselves. And oftentimes it's in imagination. And we lower ourselves and our value and we see ourselves as inferior. We see them as like these almost sometimes godlike figures we create in our heads, these idols we create in our heads. And people from our past have such a stronghold over us. And I get if somebody did something to you traumatically, I understand, but it's up to you now. Are you going to keep letting them? Are you going to let that situation, that trauma, that event, negative event affect you still to this day? Because you can counter it. You can. You have the power now. You have the power now. You have to believe you have the power now to put your foot on top of it and say it's over. That's it. You're not. This isn't doing this to me anymore. I'm moving on with my life, and this is who I want to become, and this is what I'm going to do. And you start to make steps in doing that. And reframing is great for that. Emotional reframing playlist and anxietyguy.com. Shout out to Dennis. Is great for all this reframing. Get proper therapy. I prefer more of like a life coach, somebody can help you through it and knows what they're doing. If has success and results helping other people. Find somebody like that. If you need help, you can hit me up. I can lead you the right direction. Uh, but it's up to you now to not stay stuck in that place and stay stuck in all that stuff because all it does is just keep you emotionally unhealthy. It keeps your emotions are always up and down, very wavy. And it's hard for sometimes people to stay focused. That's why it's sometimes by, 4 or 5 o'clock, people are just drained. They wanna go home and just sleep because they're so tired. Their adrenaline's just up and down all day. Your your body's just so drained from it all. And so, you know, uh, and I know because 'cause I've been there. I've been there. I know what that's like. But what are some things, though, that can help you 5 things real quick I'm gonna share that have helped me stay emotionally healthy and balanced, and ultimately help me overcome and let go of my past and move on with my life. Number one would be journaling. Journaling's great. I would say start journaling. Get a black and white notebook, like I get the salt and pepper book or whatever. Or get a notebook, whatever you need to get, and just start journaling. Just start writing out what you're going through, how you're feeling, how was your day, what are you thinking about most internally, what thoughts are you thinking about the most, and just write them all down. Because once you start to write stuff out on paper and it's up, it's confidential between you and God, you know, the more you start to write things out and the more you start to express yourself, the more things start to make more sense, right? The more things you start to connect the dots and things start to become more clear. And a lot of the anxiety goes away. And a lot of your emotionally, you start to feel a lot better. You start to feel a lot more neutral. You start to feel more in control. You start to feel more healthy and more joyful. And so I would say start journaling. The second point I would do is after you start journaling, and maybe immediately after or together, whatever you can, any steps in any way you want, um, express yourself to other people you trust. So find a good friend, find a mentor, find somebody you look up to, find somebody who has overcome things in their life that has been where you've been, but they've overcome it. Like for me, it was Dennis Simsek, the anxiety guy. Express yourself to those people. You have people in your own home, your family, close family you trust, maybe spiritual people as well that'll help guide you in the right direction, that will give you good advice and will be there for you, comfort you, love you, but also, challenge you in a good way. Find those people, express yourself to those people, get the proper help you need. If you need to go talk to somebody and let it go. The longer you hold it in, the longer you're going to hold yourself back. Stop holding it in. Let it out, let it go. Stop holding it in. I remember like coaches will tell you that all the time in sports, like stop holding yourself in, like let yourself out, let yourself go. Basically let yourself be free. Play like you're capable of playing. Live like you're capable of living. Let it go. And so express yourself to other people you trust. Find some good people in your life. Find 3 good people in your life and start expressing to them. And start creating that community and that dialogue and that comfort. You'll find comfort that you're not alone, which is what I've had to find. Because community has been very important for me in my healing journey. And just finding good people in my life, stuff like that, allowing God to lead me, connect me with people. And, that's probably what I need more than anything, and still am growing more of. And so, but express yourself to others and find people you trust that you can count on and help you in a healthy way. And so thirdly, I would say pray. Lean into your spirit. If you're somebody out there that doesn't believe in God, um, that's your choice, and there's no judgment here. But there has to be some form, and Dennis does this all the time too with the anxiety guy. There has to be some form of faith in this, some form of spiritual faith. You have to have some type of faith. Whatever you wanna wherever you are, whatever you believe in, you have to have some type of spiritual background, some type of faith here. It takes faith to move forward, because basically faith is faith over fear, and faith in the future, faith in the unknown, faith that we don't really don't control anything. Yeah, right, and we have to have faith in that, faith that we are heading in the right direction, that we're heading towards our best selves now, and that the worst part of our lives are already over, the hardest parts rather, and that we'll use all that to all that build us up to something greater that we're becoming right now, we're heading towards. You have to have faith. You have to have hope. Imagine not having any faith and hope, and some of you out there right now may not have that, but I'll tell you, it's not over. It's furthest from that. That's furthest from the truth. You have faith and hope. And sometimes it's up to you to let go of things you need to let go of. And I get that. I get that. I've been there. So you're not alone. But think of that. You're not alone. You're not the only person out there that's going through what you're going through, or ever has. But you can make it good, you can make it bad. And so, but again, it takes faith. It takes faith to move forward. It takes faith to bet on yourself, believe in yourself. It takes faith to do things. It took faith for me to come out here on my first episode and tell the whole world where I've been for 7 years up to that point, and very openly and raw. It took time for me to do that. I'm not saying you have to go do that or you have to go skydiving or anything, but, um, you know, take little steps, one step, one day at a time, and grow your faith, and watch over time. Pray to God to help grow your faith. He'll lead people in your life to help you with that as well and help assist you. And so you have to you pray, let it out, grow your spiritual faith. And so the fourth thing I would do is reframe constantly, reframe those past events, things that bother you, write them out, reframe them. Just reframe a playlist online and go back and really reframe things and see things for what they really were. Make peace with your past. And you internally release yourself from that ball and chain. Like I said, it's been holding you down for years. Whatever happened to you, you kind of let those things go. You forgive people now. You move on. You accept what happened. And you leave it in the past. You feel freer now. The burden's off you now. And surrender sessions as well are good for that as well. Surrendering how your symptoms are, surrendering to how you feel, surrendering to your emotions, just surrendering. Surrender is key. It goes with faith as well. Surrendering is key. It will help. It will change everything for you. And the biggest thing that helped me in my life was surrendering my faith and just letting go. That's ultimately what helped me move forward in my life. And so, and the fifth thing I would do, which is more important, very important, especially for people nowadays, is spend more time in healthy external environments. What I mean by that is instead of spending time watching TV and on social media and scrolling all day and swiping and all that, go outside, go find a nice peaceful environment, a park, go walk your neighborhood, find somewhere, go for a nice drive, go for a bike ride, go for a walk, go somewhere, sit on a park bench by water, or find somewhere peaceful. Stay out in external environments, peaceful environments, nature, watch nature, study nature, watch how the animals live. I mean, that's how God made them. A lot of them watch, what I mean? It's like God's look at the birds. They don't worry about what they're going to eat or anything like that. Um, spend more time in nature, spend more time outside, and externally too with people. Engage more with people. Our biggest problem nowadays is we don't know how to communicate anymore because everybody's so glued to the phone, and that's why there's why we feel the way we do with emotionally and stuff, in a negative way because we don't know how to express to each other. We don't know how to communicate, and so instead of sitting there at night watching TV, spend more time together husband, wife, whatever, or as a family or whatever, call somebody, call a good friend, you know, do something. Spend more time with people, engage with community in a healthy way. Talk with people. You find out more common you have. You feel more comfortable. You feel more community, more love and support, which is what we all need. It's part of us naturally, humanly speaking. And so, um, spend more time though in healthy environments and things. Don't do things because you feel like you have to do them or there's some duty to do it. I see a lot of people nowadays have like, all these like calendars and scheduled things, and just they overload their whole thing. It's good. Be spontaneous. It's good to have some spontaneity in your life and just be like a kid again, and have fun and do little things together. Go for walks, like I said, go to Target, go to, uh, play a board. I don't know, cards, Uno. I don't know, whatever you like doing, whatever you guys like doing, and just spend more time together with your family, your friends, or people, and spend more time in an externally healthy environment, out in nature. One of my guys, Kyle Corey, shout out Kyle. Um, Him and I always talk all the time how much we like being outside and just out on the bike, or he likes to go out and work out outside, go out in nature and be free, and, get out of the house. You know what I mean? It's just it's a lot more freeing. It helps you with a lot more, not just mentally, physically, and emotionally or spiritually, but it helps you emotionally as well. Helps you be more balanced, just kind of see things for what they are. Helps you just kind of when I'm out on that bike, it helps me just kind of decompress and just be more balanced and neutral. By the time I get home, I feel like totally different. And so those are my 5 things, and, I hope this helped you stay with helping you stay emotionally healthy and balanced. I hope these points helped you today. Um, and let me know below. Leave a comment below what stood out to you. If you have something you'd like to add to it as well, something that helps you, please let me know. And so, when I come back, I'm gonna break down some Cast film real quick, and, yeah, we'll get up out of here. So I'll be right back in a second. Count.
Um, because people when people put labels on you, so, sometimes people believe them. After a lot of constantly people saying, "Oh, you're this, you're that," you know, you'll never do this, you'll never be like that, whatever.
I
Sometimes you
think this is
believe them.
important. I wrote this down right here. 'Cause this is key for people our age, especially somebody like me who's 23, single, is not to don't wear the labels the world might say you are. And, so people could tell me in my life, with some of the things in my personal life, obviously, because we're good friends, but certain things maybe I haven't achieved yet because of what happened to me, just, because of circumstances. But if I were to keep wearing that label of I don't have X, Y, and Z yet, or, you know, if I would go by the world standards and the pressure, and sometimes even your own family. And he even said in the sermon earlier, he said sometimes the wisest thing for you to do, nobody will agree with you. Literally nobody. And that could be your own. It could be everybody around you. But as long as you listen to the voice and you can feel that conviction, what, why should you be afraid? Why not? What's there to be? You know what I mean? That should give you somewhat of a confidence, and that's hard to do because when everybody around you is telling you what to do, you can start to wear the like I could have started to wear those labels and started to, you know, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you today though. I can tell you that I'd be in a deep, deep hole. So I guess kind of what we talked about this in our last episode we did too back I think it was like in October
Yeah.
about being bold and courageous and because that's really what it is. I think surrendering it takes a leap of courage, of faith, and so I guess kind of what are the things that have helped you in your past or what some words of encouragement people out there, especially our age, watching about, you know, uh, being bold and courageous and not wearing your past, not wearing the labels and all that.
Um, it's something that's it's easier said than done, but you definitely have to try to
Mm,
surrender it all to God. Just giving it to Him, laying at the foot of the cross, and just trusting Him through it all. Um, because people when people put labels on you, so, sometimes people believe them. After a lot of constantly people saying, "Oh, you're this, you're that," you know, you'll never do this, you'll never be like that, whatever. Sometimes you believe them. After hearing it enough, and then
mm,
um, at the end of the day, it's just lies. But you have to trust that you know Christ is going to set you free, as He said He will. You just got to take the first step and surrender it to Him first before He takes it, because He's not
right.
going to do it forcefully. He's going to do it. He wants you to take the first leap of faith.
All right, now I'm back. All right, welcome back. Let's get down to this film breakdown now, the Cavs edition. Marcus Morris the other night, the 6'8" forward, longtime NBA veteran, could really score the ball. Tough guy, bigger guy. He had his first game the other night. Looked really good. 14 points, 4 rebounds, 5 of 7 from the field, 4 of 5 from three. My biggest thing with the Cavs this year, and I've been telling people this. So if you go back, I did a Rumble video probably about a month and a half ago. I really broke down the Cavs and the film and why their offense has improved this year because all the shooting they added. But I said March is going to be a very important month for them because they play a lot of great teams, a lot of playoff teams, a lot of top level teams in the league. And we're going to find out who they really are. Now, granted, Donovan's been hurt. Evan's been out hurt now. They've had some injuries. But so far, they're 5-5 this month. 500. They've looked good at times, looked bad at times. Haven't been able to close out games as much without Mitchell. Um, I think the biggest problem I see with the Cavs so far this year is just they're too small on the perimeter. They're too small. They have two smaller guards to begin with in their backcourt. Great guards, but they're too small. You look at their small forward, 6'5" Max Strus. 6'5" usually is your shooting guard. Or if you got a bigger guard, let's say you have LeBron running the point, you can maybe put a Max Strus out there with a Danny Green or somebody like that. Those kind of guys together because LeBron kind of balances out. And then you have your power forward, and you have your center, but they don't have that. They don't have that bigger ball handler like that, and they don't have a natural three. And so I think it's kind of hurt them. I get in team defensive rankings, they're I think top three. I think they're third in the league right now in defensive efficiency or defensive rating, whatever it's called. Defensive rating, excuse me. Um, from a team standpoint, because they got the Twin Towers and they play good team ball. They rotate well and they communicate well. But in certain matchups in the playoffs and stuff, I think they're going to have problems because they're just too small on the perimeter. And that's been my problem with it. You got so many guards out there playing at the wing. That's why people wonder why can't Garland close games? People are saying why is he having trouble closing games? And you go back and watch the Minnesota game and a lot of those games where he couldn't close was because he just looked tired. Because teams are smart. We're just going to tax the hell out of your backcourt. We're going to attack them all game, and by the time we get to the fourth quarter, they're going to be tired because we're making them play defense. They have to guard us. And a lot of times we're undersized against a lot of these teams because we're so small in the backcourt. We're so small in the perimeter. And a lot of times, too, it also puts pressure on your interior bigs getting in foul trouble. And it just causes a lot of problems. But by the end of the game, like with Garland, he looks tired. He's just settling for fadeaway jumpers, bad shots. He needs to develop more of a go-to move as well, which Kyrie had. He doesn't have that yet, Garland. But or as consistently. I don't see it as much. He likes a little step back out on the left wing, but he needs to develop more of a little go-to moves, I think, in the clutch. But a lot of times the shots are flat. And you saw this last year against the Knicks. The Knicks just attacked the hell out of the Cavs and just taxed them. And by the end of those fourth quarters, we couldn't close the games because we were just tired. Donovan looked tired. That's why the shots were falling short. And so, but now they have Mr. Marcus Morris here. And Marcus Morris the other night looked pretty good. And so let's get into it now with Marcus Morris and some of his film. Marcus Morris is 6'8", can play the small forward, which they have not had. And you see here the first play of the game, his first possession, carousel vert, pick and roll, little pick and pop, excuse me. And Marcus sets up, shoots, fires, hits a three. So it's a good way to start the game. I like that too, what they did there. They came out right off the jump and said, let's get him a shot. Karras does a nice job here, taking both these guys. This guy sinks down. Karras gets in front of this guy. That's the key to getting a real pip up. I don't want to say it's the key to executing a pick and pop. That's the word I was looking for. Execute is to when you come off the screen, right? You want to come off. Good screen here. That's a good screen. You see this guy? He's feeling it. He's looking up in the sky. You want to get here. What I mean is you want to get square up with this guy here, and you want to get this guy right behind you on your backside. Because now if I got him squared up here, I got him occupied, and I got this guy trailing behind me, and he pops out, I know I got him open. And that's exactly what they did here. And nice pass there by LeVert. Easy money. And now the next possession here with Marcus Morris. Sam Merrill shoots a shot. Good rebound from Garland. Easy shot. Boom. But again, this is a 6'8" guy, 220-pound guy playing small forward who can hit the three. And this shot here, that's a tough shot there. in the corner with a guy in his face. I hear a lot of people saying why we need Mobley to do this, but I think this is the problem with the Cavs is not having a true small forward. We're expecting Evan Mobley to play the position, basically, is what we're asking him to do. We need you to start shooting threes like this on the perimeter and doing more things from the outside. But I think what would help Evan Mobley more is if he had a Marcus Morris beside him at the three, and more of a 6'8" wing, or a real natural small forward. Because Isaac Okoro is only 6'5". He's not really a natural small forward. He's kind of like a 2-3 guy off the bench. Max Strus, like I said earlier, not a he's more of a 2 to me, 6'5". We need a guy that's more 6'8", 6'9", bigger, more athletic, and more a true small forward, a true wing. And Marcus Morris has been in the league a while. He's always been a pretty good scorer, a lot of experience. You see here, he can hit shots like this. This is what he's done his whole career, and that's easy money right there for him. So it may look easy money, but again, that's another element now they have. You see here, he's handling the ball now, and he's going to pull up here right on the mid range here. This is something they haven't had all year. A 6'8" guy, a real wing that can do this between the legs, pulls up, gets to a spot, bam. They have not had this, and so he not only gives them more size defensively because he's 6'8" and he gives them toughness and grit and experience, but he also gives another element now offensively they haven't had. As like I said, a 6'8" guy pulling up off the dribble here, creating his own shot, getting to a spot, and knows where. And it's how you see how savvy he is as a veteran. He knows where he wants to get to. He knows the spots he wants to get to, and just a couple dribbles here to create some space. Square up, square up. Merrill does a nice job spacing out, knowing he wants to get to that spot right there. One dribble, pull up, bam. But they have not had this. And I think that's the problem. People get frustrated. Mobley, we've been asking Mobley to do things like this. This is usually what your small forward is supposed to be doing. But guess what? We haven't had a natural small forward all year, a true small forward. We've had a spot up guy at Strus, who's been great. But again, I don't think Strus should be your small forward going forward. And so there you go. Strus is a nice piece, a great shooter to have. He's a weapon. You see here, spots up, shoots another contested three. Great pass from Garland. But again, this is something they have not had all year. A 6'8" guy, a true wing, he can play the three. You can put him at the four if you need to, which he's played 4 times in his career. But again, he's spotting up right here. Garland does a nice job. It's basically like just a chain reaction here. Suck this guy up and pass it out to there. Occupy that guy down there and just kick it out. Something they have not had. And that's a tough shot, too, with McConnell was up there. I think that's McConnell, whoever that. He was hauling ass over there. And probably, too, if the clock wasn't 2 seconds left, he probably could have pump faked and drawn a foul there, too. The way that guy was closing out like that. You're not supposed to close out like that. But good shot, though, from Marcus Morris. And a great game from Marcus Morris. And again, I'm curious now where this goes for the Cavs because he gives them another element they haven't had. And like I said, they haven't had that 6'8" real wing all year. And we're going to find out more about the Cavs here. They're 5-5 so far in March. But if you look, they play the Heat tonight at home, which is going to be a big game. That's a big one. Friday, they play Ant-Man, who's unbelievable right now, in Minnesota. That's going to be a tough one. They play the Heat again on Sunday in Miami. And then they play the Hornets back-to-back. Those should be 2 easy wins. You got to play Philly again at home. You should win that. But then you got a big one at the end of the month at Denver. So they got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, possibly 6 games left that are pretty big. So it'd be nice if they could finish this over 500. You know, in those, let's say it's 6 games, I like to see them go 4-2. 3-3 at worst. But if they can go 4-2 here in these 6 games I mentioned and win the Hornets games, which would put them at 6-2. So if they can go 6-2 here down the last 8 games here of the month. Or is it 8 games? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, 7 games. Excuse me. Then go 5-2. I got my math wrong. My bad. I was looking at the Pacers game they just played. If they can go 5-2 here down the stretch, I really like that going into the playoffs, going into the month of April. Get the playoffs coming up. I get it's gonna be tough without Mitchell And although Mitchell could be back next week, so you may have him by the end of the month. And I know Mobley's gonna be out. So, but they gotta be able to figure it out with some wins. I think Marcus Morris now is another piece. I like that piece. I like the addition. Um, that's why I've been saying all year they need somebody, and they need another wing out there that's bigger. A 6'8" guy, strong guy, athletic. You saw what he did there. He could put the ball on the floor and pull up to his spots. He can spot shoot, hits tough shots. He's a veteran. He can defend. He could switch out. He's experienced. He's tough. So they needed Marcus Morris. And so if it were me, if I were the Cavs, and Max Strus is out as well. I don't know when he'll be back, but probably soon. If I were the Cavs, what I would do is keep rolling like this with Marcus Morris, get him going the rest of the month, and by the playoffs, I would actually probably start him at my 3. Some people may not agree with that. Some people may say, well, he's more of a power forward, but I think you could put him at the 3, and I think it's going to be better for them, especially if they play the Knicks again in certain matchups in the playoffs. They have to be a little bigger out there. They need more size. They need a little more toughness, and just more size and more of a real wing out there. And he can hit the 3, he can space. And I think it would actually help Evan more, because now if Evan Mobley has Jared Allen roaming like around the basket like he does, but he has that 3 now out on the perimeter who's a bigger 3, 6'8" guy who can also put the ball on the floor. I think it could help Evan out more, unlock more of his game. I think it could help Evan get more easy shots, because now if you got a guy like Marcus Morris who's bigger like that, he can also post up as well. You can get him the ball in the post, the high post. He can draw some. He could, once he starts to make his dribble in towards the basket on the post up, the draw starts to draw. He can kick it out to a guy like Evan possibly, or the ball could swing to Evan. And I just think it gives them more opportunity. It takes less pressure off of Evan is my whole point. And having more of that size. I think with Strus all year, Strus is a really good player, but Strus he's a specialist. That's what he is. He's a 3-point specialist. Marcus Morris has a little more versatility in his game on both ends. And I think that's what it takes less pressure off of Evan and allows him to do more offensively. You can do more with him. It gives him another element. And not only that, in Marcus Morris as well, because he's bigger, he has a little more in his bag than Max Strus. Max Strus is a better shooter, obviously, but I think Marcus Morris has a lot more skill offensively. He's averaged some pretty good points, double-digit points in his career. I think, let me look at his career average. But you saw there, too, with Marcus Morris, another way I think you can get Evan more easy looks and better, just more opportunity, is you saw he put the ball on the floor, like I mentioned, to create his own shot, but also you can run some pick and roll with him as well. You can run pick and pop with that. If you have a 6'8" guy who could handle the ball like that, why not run a little side pick and roll here and there with him? People watching may say that's crazy. I don't. I think you should use all your weapons, and get guys the ball in different ways. You know what I mean? If Marcus has a weaker defender on him, why not? I mean, you may even get the switch on Evan and make them switch. And now you got to post up down low with a smaller guy on him. I just think they haven't had this. Marcus gives them more versatility offensive, which they have not had all year. And so Marcus, for his career too, I believe. We find Marcus Moore's career stats. If I can pull it up here. I remember in Boston, he was really good. He was really good with the Clippers for a while. So Marcus Morris, all right, here we go. Marcus Morris for his career high in points for a season is 19.6 for 20. He's averaged 20 his career. That was in 2019-20 with the New York Knicks. He had some good years in Boston. Played in Phoenix for a while, Detroit. Had some good years with the Clippers as well. Yeah, so I mean, and he's shot the 3 pretty well for his career as well. 36%, 47% one year, 43%. Taking about 4 or 5 attempts a game as well. So, yeah, I mean, to me, Marcus Morris, I like the pickup. I think I would probably put him at the 3, and I just think it would open up more, and it gives them more of an attack on the defense as well. Like I said, which in turn will help Evan more and create more one-on-one opportunities for him, and just take less pressure off of him, and I think help him expand his game as well. So, and most importantly, it'll help them defensively as well. It gives them more size, which they need. So that's all I got for you guys today. Love all you guys. Like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. Go Cavs, and let me know what you guys think about today's show. See you guys in the next one. I'm out of here. Gone.